in religions and society and government. So please subscribe and enjoy the show, the Latino Conservative Podcast. Listen and share with all of your friends and subscribe to my eyes. The Latino Conservative Podcast. The Latino Conservative.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, this is Andrew Alvarez. I am the Latino Conservative. Great to be with y'all this Friday. For some of y'all. For those of y'all in the car business, this is just Saturday Junior because Saturday's a busy day. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank everybody who's going to join in and watch later on. Sponsored products of the Latino Conservative. I've got these things right here. Lots of them. These are these PEC nasal inhalers. See, everybody has seen those Vic sticks that you can stick in your nose, basically, and like clear you up. They're mentholatum. They're basically made with eucalyptus. These are made with two, though. In fact, hold on. This one I have right here is smelled like coffee. I've got cinnamon flavored. I've got tropical. Great for a quick boost of energy. Increase your awareness real quick when you're driving. These are great. I'm addicted to these things. You can get these in the description below. But let's get into it. My name is Andrew Alvarez again. For those of y'all who are just joining in, I am the host of the Latino Conservative Podcast. I am a former congressional candidate in Houston District 9, where I was running against Al Green. I had to withdraw because of health reasons. I am also currently a Texas U.S. Senate candidate, even though I am not actively campaigning right now because, quite frankly, Ken Paxton joined the race, and I think he has more chance to oust John Cornyn than I do. So I fully support Ken Paxton right now. So let's get into this right away. First story here. Let me pull it up for you real quick. And for those of y'all just joining again, I am visually impaired, so it takes me a little bit longer to pull things up. So let's get to the first story.
The U.S. Supreme Court on Monday paved the way for the Trump administration to resume deporting migrants to countries they are not from, including to conflict-ridden places such as South Sudan. In a brief unsigned order, the court's conservative supermajority paused the ruling by a Boston-based federal judge who said immigrants deserved a meaningful opportunity to bring claims that they would face the risk of torture, persecution, or even death if removed to certain countries that have agreed to take people deported from the U.S. The court ruling was handed down as Donald Trump claimed Israel and Iran had agreed to a complete and total ceasefire, and that in the future the conflict would be known as the 12-Day War. Here are the key stories at a glance. U.S. Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump in deportations case.
Okay. So basically what that is the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that Donald Trump can start deporting people again to other countries other than where they were originally from, i.e. South Sudan. Also, Trump has also ordered the deportation again, deportation 2.0 of Kilmar Brego, that dude. I can't remember the name right off the top of my head because there's so many names that float around in my head. But Kilmar Brego Gonzalez, was that his last name? But he's the guy that we deported to El Salvador. He's not from El Salvador. He was quote unquote fleeing Guatemala, is what he was trying to say. He's the whole Maryland man thing. The narrative that the leftist media tried to say he was a Maryland man that Trump wrongfully deported, which no, he didn't. They tried to claim due process, which due process for illegal immigrants is you get deported. What is it? 8 USC 1324 basically says if you harbor any illegal aliens or if you encourage them to come over, you do anything of that sort, you can be fined and imprisoned up to 10 years. So I'm thinking, all of these Democrats that are saying we should keep those illegal aliens here, those illegal criminal aliens here, guess what? They're encouraging them. I think we should look at getting them charged, because since that is in the U.S. code, that is something that could be considered a federal offense, which is a felony, which means they could be charged as such, which would take away their voting rights if convicted. But the U.S. Supreme Court said that Donald Trump could start deporting them again. I don't know why the federal courts, the lower courts, I should say, because I don't see them as being federal. The lower courts trying to rule against the president in something that he is doing to protect this country. Isn't that what we hired him to do, was to protect this country? But in all of this, to me, it's a lot like the CEO of Walmart making a business choice for his company, or their company, I should say, because I don't know who owns it right now, for their company, the CEO. And the district managers of the stores, the Walmart individual stores, saying, nope, you have no power over me. We're going to say that my store is not going to do this. And by proxy, since my store isn't going to do this or can't do that, none of the stores can do that. That's bullshit. It's bullshit, as that little kid says, because try to go out and do that at the corporate level, you're going to get a bunch of people fired. I know me, in my career as a consultant, as a manager in businesses, I was, mid to lower level management. I wasn't technically higher management, upper management, but mid level management. But if somebody didn't do what I told them to do, they got fired. Insubordination. The military has a saying: "Do now, ask later." Do now, ask later. These Democrats are they're engaging in acts of lawfare, I should say, war. It's seditious because these people are going against what the president of the United States is doing. And quite honestly, he hasn't done anything that violates the Constitution, even though they like to try to say that he violates the Constitution. He hasn't done that. I can bet you, and I can just about guarantee that everything that he does, he has somebody look over first. Because we don't want something that happened like the last time. We don't. Where everybody in his cabinet, in his circle of influence in politics, was secretly against him. He made the perfect statement. His first term, he was the hunted. Now he's the hunter. What is the left out there doing? Why are they so hardcore against this guy? So here's a little story about how I positioned it. And I might have, I didn't kick myself after saying this, but I can quite honestly, I can hear people's reactions when I was out on the campaign trail. Joe Biden was still the president. I told people that I supported Joe Biden, just like I supported Donald Trump, just like I supported Obama, Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr., George H.W., George W., the difference, father and the son, basically. Ronald Reagan was the first president of my life. I supported all of them because I wanted them to succeed. During that time when I was campaigning, I was traveling a lot. I'm talking about literally flying multiple times a week. Every now and then when I would fly out of Houston, I'd come across the same pilot. If I came across a pilot that I didn't like because of his political standpoints, or because he had purple hair, or whatever, I could maybe not like him personally or not like her personally, but I still wanted them to succeed because I wanted to make sure I got to my destination safely. I wanted to make sure that everybody else in that plane was safe and secure. That's how I view a president. No matter who's a president, I want them to be safe and secure, and I want them to lead this country correctly, in a way that benefits everyone in this country, every American in this country. And let's not even get into the discussion about people that are in this country legally and illegally being American versus not being American and whatnot. That's a whole different topic. That's going to be a whole different 2-hour TED Talk if I want to make it that way. But I want to move on, and I want to go over a few more stories But I will say this. Just because you come to this country doesn't make you an American. What makes you an American is patriotism, meaning you're proud to be here. You'll fight for our values, and you just pride. American pride is, probably the key point in this. It gets under my skin so much, annoys me, irritates me, that people who come here that don't like our country, that wave other countries' flags while burning the American flag and call it freedom of speech. Americans are doing that. People that were born here are burning our flag, waving other countries' flags. If you don't like it so much, go. There's a door. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out type thing. But again, I can get into that a million times over. But we are going to move on. You know me, you know the drill. I've got to look over here to my big screen. We're going to pull up some Texas news here just a bit. Trying to get the mouse over right.
Texas lawmakers are heading back to work. Governor Greg Abbott has called a special session starting July 21st, topping the agenda THC, after he vetoed a statewide ban just before Sunday night's deadline. WFAA's Natalie Haddad has the latest.
Yeah, the call came just before midnight. Governor Greg Abbott vetoing a ban on all THC products. And now the response, well, it's caused a little bit of political whiplash. A statement released just last night when the decision came down by Abbott said that this would likely face, quote, valid constitutional challenges if passed. While he agreed safety concerns are real, he said banning all THC products is, quote, not the answer. Abbott pointed to the thousands of Texans, including veterans and patients, who urged him to veto the bill, saying they depend on THC for relief from pain and PTSD and things like anxiety. Now, on the other hand, you've got Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Abbott's right-hand guy. He's already fired back. Lieutenant Governor Patrick calling the move a betrayal. He said the veto ignored support from 105 out of the 108 Republicans who voted in favor of this. He said it also ignores the support from law enforcement, medical and education groups, and families devastated by THC products. But the hemp.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. Thank you, Governor Abbott. I will say this as one of your campaigners. In fact, your biggest campaigner in Alvin, Texas. Back when I was running for Congress, I was also campaigning for Greg Abbott. I knocked every single Republican door in Alvin, Texas to get out the vote for him. Thank you for doing that. That actually means a lot to me. Not that I'm an avid user, though I will say this. I do keep THC products in my refrigerator, legally obtained from a legal source. The liquor store can have THC alcoholic beverages. And I keep those because I suffer from extreme neuropathy. My feet and my legs sometimes feel like there's a hot iron being stuck into it. It's because, I'm diabetic. It's something that I've been fighting for 20 years. And it's not like, I go out there and I eat all sorts of candy and cake and everything, but now that's how I got there. I used to put down a 12-pack of Coke a day and a box of Little Debbie, oatmeal cookie cream pie thingies or the zebra cakes. I used to put one of those down every single day. Or maybe half of one a day. I made bad decisions. But since then, I've lost 250 pounds fighting this disease, taking every single medication that's been invented so far. Taken every homeopathic remedy out there. Tried the what's that no carb one? Atkins or the no carb diet. I've tried that. Done it all. THC helps me sleep sometime because if I don't take it, if I don't take something to relieve that pain, it can last for days, and it's not a steady, feeling like something's jabbing me and just staying in there. The way it hurts me is there'll be a single spot on my foot, in my leg, just that one spot at that one time. And then there'll be that stabbing pain. Feel like something just stabbing me right there. And then it'll go away. Minute and a half, 5 minutes later, I'll get that same pain. Right there. Then maybe 30 seconds the next time, it'll just hit me. And when I feel like I'm finally dozing off, finally falling asleep, it just punches me again, right where it's been. And the THC ban in Texas would have banned those products. It would not have allowed me to go to the store if I chose the gummies. It would not allow me to have gone to do that to get those from the store. It wouldn't. But it would allow 3 companies in Texas to hold an exemption because they hold a license according to the Texas Compassionate Use Program. 3 companies, that's it. 3 companies to distribute THC products. Now, tell me there's not some shenanigans behind that. So the Texas legislature is going into a special session. Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, is advocating for its total ban, keeping just those certain companies. That's it. Just those certain companies, those 3 companies. It's a Texas Compassionate Use, or Texas Original, I should say. And there's a couple other ones. I forget the names right off the top of my head, but he wants those companies alone to be able to sell THC products. Now, ironically, about 6 years ago, he advocated for legalizing it. Now he wants it banned with the exception of those companies because they are his donors. They want to eliminate the competition. Now, there's been an argument out there saying, states like California, Washington, Colorado, they have gone to hell. They've gone to hell and back because, or not even back, they've just gone to hell because of legalized recreational marijuana. I'm going to counter this with saying, as someone who's been to those states, as someone who's traveled the country over and over and over again, literally one week in Cocoa Beach, Florida, the next week in Seattle, Washington, those states were already messed up before those THC bans went into effect, or the THC legalizations went into effect. You know what? People complain, I don't want to go smell weed whenever I am out there walking. Well, you know what? You smell cigarettes. You smell not carbon monoxide, but exhaust from cars. You smell all sorts of smell out there. Perfumes. Yeah, some of that weed does smell, they call it skunk weed for a reason. But it needs to be legalized and it needs to be regulated. As a conservative, I am against big government. But there's some things that the government needs to be in control over. And I believe that is one of them. We could utilize the tax money. We could utilize the medical benefits. We could utilize the cartels not selling it to our kids. We could utilize all of that with legalization and making it regulated, just like we did alcohol. The alcohol prohibition, at the same time it legalized, it prohibited alcohol and marijuana. But when they repealed the prohibition, they only repealed it for the alcohol. Alcohol causes more deaths than marijuana does. Alcohol causes violence. We Latinos, we know we've got that uncle out there or that primo, that whoever, even the tias and the whatever, that they get out there, they get too drunk and they want to fight. They want to throw some chingazos, or they start crying, or they want to go out there and go driving. Those fighters. They've had one too many shots of tequila. They had one too many shots of Crown, or whatever they're drinking. Weed does not do that. You can make the argument that weed will kill brain cells. Where's the study on that? Just because somebody put it in a book doesn't mean it's true. I'm just going to say that. Just because somebody put it in a book doesn't mean it's true. I can put whatever I want in a book. In fact, I'm working on a book right now on automotive detailing, because that is something that I do on the side, trying to keep a living going, even though I'm disabled right now. I'm trying to, keep a living going, make a living for myself and for my family. But going out there and just putting it in the books, citing it over and over and over and over and over again, does not make it true. So they're going back to a special session. But I want to add something to that special session. That special session in July is going to be primarily over the debate on THC, which I think it should be legalized. I think it should be regulated, 21 and over, just like alcohol. But I want to add something to that. This legislative session, Governor Abbott signed into law 3 bills that would lower tax rates, property tax rates, I should say. Texas is awesome because we don't have a state income tax. And guys, hey, guess what? I have a little cat that likes to play with the light cord. So give me just a second. I do apologize about that. Yeah, she likes to get the light cord, and because it has a little blue light on it. But either way, 3 bills that reduce property taxes for homeowners. I am not a homeowner. I'm a renter. But those bills, they do affect me too. Because right after, within days of that bill being signed, my home county, Victoria County, put out an article. The county officials, the county tax assessor's office, put out an article in our local newspaper saying that the market value of property here in Victoria County has gone up. How? What in the hell are we doing to make the property value go up? There is nothing that this county is doing that is making the property value go up. In fact, every single bill, every single bond that we have voted, had on the ballot, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 school board bonds, hasn't gone through. We've made no improvements. The roads are shitty. Infrastructure is crappy. But our property value is going up. How? I have no idea how that is happening. But I can tell you why. Why it's happening. Because the county wants to make sure that our taxes keep going up. They want to make sure that we have to pay more and more and more in taxes. And it doesn't only affect the property owners. It affects renters like me, like just about every other resident of Victoria. A lot of these houses that are here that are for rent are owned by people outside of the town, outside of Victoria. Nationally even, companies like BlackRock, not Blackstone. I wish I had a Blackstone. BlackRock, Vanguard, they buy properties all over the country and then rent them out. That's their modus operandi. But it affects us because when property taxes go up, so do the rent fees. Because, we pay rent, we pay leases on a year-to-year basis. We sign leases in, and with property taxes go up, so does the rent. So it does affect me. It does affect most people out here. It does affect that person that, the person it doesn't affect is that person in, I'm going to throw a name out there, Conroe, that let their house go into foreclosure. They're not going to have to pay property taxes anymore, but the apartment that they're renting, guess what? they may have to pay taxes on that one. Who knows? We need our state legislator to address that. Counties should not be able to artificially mark up and inflate our property values. How can a piece of dirt go up? There's countless houses still in Victoria that have blue tarps on their roofs because, from Hurricane Harvey, that haven't got replaced yet our property values are going up. I call bullshit. It's bullshit. I need to get a sound for that, a sound button on that. So, along with the THC legalization, I'm advocating, I've got letters that I'm getting ready to send out to our representatives and our state senator to help protect our property taxes. Because when property taxes go up, even for non-homeowners, so does rent. But who gets it? Where does it go? Some slush fund that some county officials get to use whenever they want? No sé. Next story. Let me look over here to my left real quick. I don't know. Can y'all see that screen yet? Here, I'll play the audio though for you. Okay, so New York, what are you doing? You've got this mayoral candidate that is basically a communist. You look at his website, he wants government-run stores. He wants basically free everything. The government's going to pay for taxis. The government's going to pay for this. Government's going to pay for that. That's communism. Not only that, he's only been a citizen for 7 years. Mandani. Not only that, he is a supporter of Hamas. When you apply for citizenship, there is a question on the application that addresses supporting terrorist groups. If you support a terrorist group, you're denied. Plain and simply, as you should be. The U.S. should not be hosting anybody that supports a terrorist group, especially one that goes totally against American beliefs, that wants to destroy America, that says death to America. Dude, what is up? Why are you guys in New York voting for this Yahoo? Are you that far gone mentally that you can't that you just can't see anybody other than a far left Democrat representing you. He's also made mention that he wants to be a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants. That he's going to use all of his power and all of his police force to basically ignore what Trump and defy what Trump is doing with ICE. You know, the thing that people voted for him to do. If he is doing that, think back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, where the cat played with it again. 8 USC 1324. Think back to that little conversation. Anyone who harbors an illegal alien, who encourages them to come over to be illegal, are subject to fines, imprisonment. Also, if you are going against what the president says, which he is using the Criminal Aliens Act, when you go against that and you basically say that you're going to violate his rules in that way, that could be considered an act of war. Seditious. Maybe even treasonous. What are the penalties for that? I wonder. Now, I'm not saying that right away that we need to go and, unalive this guy by any means. No, I'm not advocating for that. What I am advocating for, though, is if he is elected as the mayor of New York, in fact, they should start doing it now. The DOJ needs to start investigating him now. If he is found to really have supported members of Hamas or Hamas in general, strip his citizenship because he lied on that form, on that application. If he commits seditious activity by not allowing ICE, obstructing ICE, charge him with sedition. Plain and simple. Get him out of there. We need to. Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I'm even advocating for Cuomo. Because I don't know of any Republican out there that is actually running that would be good. Like, and when I say good, I'm using air quotes, that can put up a good enough challenge, I should say. Because politics is, running a campaign is more than just winning the primaries. You've got to win the generals too. You've got 2 races to win. So whoever can beat this guy in the general is who I want to win. Very least, we should investigate him and possibly strip his citizenship, which we could then deport him. Now, I get it. New York is mostly not white. I get that. In fact, 29% of New York is white. I get that. That doesn't mean you got to go all buck wild. Doesn't mean you got to go and support anybody that has that D next to their name. Still, get your head out your asses. Do something smart, educated. Do your education, do your homework. Don't just go vote for the person because of the letter at the end of their name. Don't do that. Vote policy, not party. Now, I get it. You guys in New York may like a more liberal, more progressive style of governance. I get that. That is your right. But as Americans, we are not communists. We will never be communists unless we allow it to be. And by allowing this guy to be a mayor in one of the most popular cities in the world, one of the most iconic cities in the world. The same group of people that flew into the towers on 9/11 is who this guy backs and who this guy comes from. Think about that. That just happened just a couple decades ago. Think about that. You know, are y'all so far gone that y'all forget about that? It's right there. Guys, open your eyes. Even I can say that. So let's move on to the next story. And for some reason, my screen sharing has stopped, so we're just going to play the audio version now. If I can find it. So we got a new candidate, new Democrat candidate running for Senate. But you got two other guys out there. Now, I'm going to say this. The fact that they're talking about they'll make a decision shortly and they'll be where the people are, they're planning on running. I'm just going to be out there. I've heard those type of statements enough. When I heard Ken Paxton say that he's going to make a decision shortly, I knew he was going to run. I filed to run for Senate in Texas because I wanted to make sure John Cornyn didn't win. Quite frankly, the way the polls are right now, even with the engagement that I am still getting after suspending, not withdrawing, suspending my campaign. Ken Paxton, me. That's what it is. Ken Paxton, me. Texas doesn't like John Cornyn. Now, I'm going to say this. Ken Paxton, he will win the primary. He's going to do it. And he's going to go to be our next senator. I don't want to take any votes away from him because in Texas, you got to win by 51%. You got to have 51% of the vote to make it official. Now, prior to Ken Paxton announcing, there were at least 4 other candidates out there. I don't even know who they were. I don't. And I'm not being conceited or exaggerating by saying Ken Paxton, me. I'm not. I've got the data to prove it. I've got the engagement to prove it. I've got, part of me still wants to run. I'll put it that way. With the interaction and the engagements that I'm still getting right now, part of me still wants to run, but I don't want to take anything away from Ken Paxton because, again, it's not about me winning. It's about John Cornyn not winning. So that's why I'm putting my efforts now into backing Ken Paxton. Colin Albright and Beto O'Rourke. They've tried it already. They tried it against Ted Cruz. And neither were successful. Neither of them were successful. I don't know that if Ken Paxton were not to run, and it would be me versus John Cornyn, and I say me because those other guys, to be honest, no. It would be me against John Cornyn. I'd have a good chance against him. I really would. I probably would win. Just going to be out there. I probably would win. the support I had in Brownsville, the support I had in San Antonio, and Houston, and Baytown, and all of those places. Even in El Paso, with my outreach program that I had, without even being there yet, people in El Paso are supporting me, were supporting me. However, I don't have Beto O'Rourke's pockets or Colin Albright's pockets. I did all of this grassroots on my own. Makes me kind of want to start a political consulting firm based on that. Because, man, just the support that I've got without spending money. I spent $75. $75. Mostly in gas. $75 is what I spent and got all that support. Because I know how to reach people. I am the people. My background in marketing and in sales and in all of that good stuff has helped me do that. My use of AI has helped me do that. Even though I am blind, legally I am blind. My vision is gone in this one. And in this one, it is 2400. I did all of that because I listen. I have a great sense of hustle. And, you know, people like me, plain and simple. But the money is what wins a big race like that. Now, I will run for office again, but more local. You know, I've been really. I want to help people. Is my thing. I want to help people. I don't want to be one of these people that just goes out there and lives every day, day to day, and, you know, dies at the end of their term. Whatever. I don't want to be that. I want to help people be more important than myself and make a difference. So I will run for office again, something a little more local, school board, city council, county commissioner, something like that. Then maybe I'll try the federal scene again later. I have got to get this cat a new toy. Oh, she unplugged it all the way. So either way, I guess that means it's a good time to talk about the last product. I've got these right here. These are alpha fuel pouches. They're like those Zen pouches, but they're better. None of the bad stuff, all of the good stuff in there. They give you a great boost of energy. It's almost a pre-workout. You put it right here in between your gum and your lip. And, you know, the flavors that I've got right now is an apple mint flavor. It's a great source of clean energy. Go check them out again in the link in the description below. And on that note, since the light's not coming back on, I am going to go ahead and call it a day. And we will see you next time. Don't forget, hit that like, share, subscribe button.
Let's enjoy the show. Bandito. I am Latino.